Hello and welcome to another episode of Meet the Author Live. I'm your host, John Saunders from book publisher New Degree Press. This is such a fun show and part of Manuscripts Inc. Incorporated. And this enterprise has published authors now on 6 continents and ranked 293rd on the Inc. Magazine 5000 list last year. This is the fastest growing publicly held companies in America. And this year we'll also cross over roughly 1,500 published authors. You think you have a book in you, check out the creator.institute now. The next cohort starts right after Memorial Day. This is a comprehensive author coaching program that will take you from idea to published book. And we'll hear Angela's story here in just a minute about how that went for her. But not just a published book, but a book published like a second-time author, which includes audience creation and activation. Super important part of the journey. So Meet the Author is an opportunity to learn everything there is to know about the author, which we're about to dive into. Today is a special episode because I have with me Angela, who has a brand new book out, The Courageous Mind, available today wherever you buy books online. Angela's an entrepreneur, a speaker, coach, connector, lifelong learner, and now author. She's passionate about empowering leaders to live courageously and develop phenomenal cultures. She's been at it for over 25 years, helping people launch and grow businesses and building successful teams. But she's learned all along the way. It starts with leading and knowing yourself. Angela shared her self-discovery with thousands of business leaders globally, growing their mindset, business, and lives through the company she founded, Courageous Solutions and Strategies. Angela's mission is to guide business leaders to a courageous mindset. Not an easy thing to do, but she's done it, putting mediocrity eternally behind them and achieving phenomenal results, both personally and professionally. Angela, so great to see you today. Congratulations on the new book.
Thank you so much, John. And it's a privilege to be here.
The privilege is all mine. So how does it feel to have a book with your name on it available wherever you buy books online? That's pretty cool, is it not?
It is pretty cool. This has been a lifelong dream since I was a little girl. My grandma lived next door to us on the farm, and she had the most amazing collection of old books. And I would tape over the author's name and write my own as a little girl and carry those around. So to see my name on a book, it's a lifelong dream become a reality.
That is amazing. You would tape over the name of the existing author and write Angela. That's hilarious. I love that. And I know one thing I forgot to mention was Angela also has a podcast from the show I host, the Creator Community, available today on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. So Angela, for those who have thought about writing a book or maybe wrote one and didn't enjoy the experience and thinking about maybe considering that next one, what was the author journey like for you?
Oh, this was such an incredible program. And like you alluded to, really an all-inclusive journey that the Creator Institute takes you on of all the facets of writing a book. When I said I always wanted to write a book and then I decided to be part of the program and write one, I didn't really have any idea what it took to write a book. That you think that writing a book is the writing of the book and that's it. And the most phenomenal Eric Custer's the most phenomenal teacher, inspiring, educating, adding some humor into what it really feels like to write and be an author. And then paired with a developmental editor that's helping you write along the way. And wow, was it incredible to see my first time writing chapter 1 and then my first time writing chapter 16. How far, I would go back and read chapter 1 and be like, wow, I was not a good writer. And then the editing journey and what that process is. I didn't have any idea. I think most people think editing is what copywriting is, editing, grammar and things like that, and not really editing and getting better and better and better at your content and how much you do that. And then, as you said, now we've written the book, now we've edited it, but what does it really look like to put it out in the world successfully? Because you can write a book and edit it and it can be the greatest book, but no one would know about it. So just a journey of teachers. Your editors are your biggest cheerleaders and therapists and everything all in one that takes you from a story on your heart to really launching it in the world.
I really appreciate the thought of therapist in there, editor's therapist, because I can tell you, I published my book at the end of 2020, and somewhere around the just before sort of joining the publishing phase of the journey, I wanted to throw it away. I mean, I was just getting lost. I had this massive imposter syndrome. Is anyone ever going to want to read this? And all of these things. And I just couldn't get out of the gate with chapter 1. And I had a emergency call with my editor on a Friday morning, and he talked me off the ledge and helped me rethink, restructure, create a template for me to run on. And it just really took off from there. And of course, many editors after that, but that's really fun. What would you say when you think about the courageous mind and this topic? You had an inkling of an idea, you came here, right? You went through the process, fine-tuned it a bit. What would you say you learned most about your thinking around the courageous mind through this journey?
I learned so much about myself, being courageous in that as well. But also, I think one of my biggest learns as a person was how to learn and take feedback. As an adult and a successful business owner, we think we sometimes get in the pattern that we know it all. And it is a humbling experience thinking your words that you're putting out there are really awesome and you're saying them correctly, and to be in a scenario as an adult, right, outside of the school era, and take correction and learn and realize that this wasn't a skill set I had, and get better at it and for the reader. So that was one of my huge takeaways from the program, and how one of the ways that I really grew. But it was fascinating researching courage. That was another part of the book I don't think I expected. I thought I was going to write about all this incredible knowledge I had, but it was fascinating doing research and hearing other people's stories of courage. And I talk about courage in 3 different facets of that. There are times in our life where we need to borrow courage from others, and times that we can really do courage well, and how can we set ourselves up in our mindsets to use courage like a muscle and use it often, and that we lead best through loaning others our courage.
That is so interesting. So you didn't have that framework when the book started. This evolved as you wrote. Is that right?
It did, yes.
And how do you loan your courage to someone, Angela? What does that look like? Isn't that mine?
And I would say I had a more powerful experience knowing that there was a time that I needed to borrow it. So I had a lifetime of success. I started my first business right out of college, had great success in my life, built really phenomenal things, but was at a point where things had happened, life had happened. I had become discouraged and not in a place that I was doing it well. I led others through things, but at this point I wasn't. And it really was someone coming along beside me. And this is in the introduction story of the book. I met James Mansky, who had also gone through this program and written a book, and just was at the tail end of that. And really, it was different. It's different than motivating or just giving someone some inspiration, but coming alongside them and breathing life into them to get that courage that's within them back out to start again.
I love that. Helping them unearth it. And through your own examples, right? Is that what I'm hearing of showing them how you've been courageous and helping them learn and grow from that? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. And seeing it within them, that champion spirit was in me. It was just buried deep inside. So coming alongside with courage and bringing that courage out in someone else.
That is awesome. So the 3 facets were loaning, owning, and borrowing. Was that right?
Yes.
How do you own your courage?
So I think that's when we're doing it well. And I think that's the difference in successful people, in trends in the most successful people, that they use courage all the time. And so there are many chapters in the book that talk about ways that we set ourselves up to take more risks and make more courageous decisions by guarding our mindset, by surrounding ourselves with a circle of people that encourage courage, and that, different things that people do, the books they read, how they spend their time, how they're guarding their schedule. I tell a funny story of, we only have the decision power of making so many, we can only make so many decisions in a day. And so the more you can structure your routine, I wear black almost every single day, and it's one less decision. And so you have that decision-making power to take risks and make big, courageous decisions.
So taking the sort of what we oftentimes get hung up on, for example, what color we wear every day, taking sort of those aspects of your life and simplifying them. So take those decisions out, freeing your mind to make these bigger, more courageous decisions.
Yes.
That is awesome. And I think there's so many ways that we can apply those lessons in our own lives, right? What's your favorite story of seeing others in your book apply those types of lessons?
Oh, that was the best.
One of your favorite.
Is interviewing and hearing other people's stories. I remember at that juncture of writing the book, when I was in the interview phase, I thought, I wish I could do this every single day, is just go around and interview and hear people's stories and listen to how they took big risks and what that felt like to them. And yeah, hear the stories of starting. There's some phenomenal stories in the book. My cousin is a colonel in the Army, and her story at the beginning of the book, and then lots of different entrepreneurs and people who have gone through different facets of life. And it's fascinating.
What was your cousin's courageous story?
So she is a pilot, and one story was of how you really train. And that's, again, the training using courage, that if how you train every single day is how you're going to react in a stressful situation. So it was a time the plane was in danger and they responded with no stress, just in an execution mode, because that's how they had trained every single time. And she used it as a great example of that's what we do in business and in every area of our life, that we're training every day for those big situations. She also had some great personal stories of overcoming breast cancer, and that, how her mindset in what she does affected her getting through that journey as well.
It's really a fascinating thing you talk about in your book, this whole idea of courage being habit forming, right? I mean, do you feel like you had that concept in your mind before you even wrote the book, or is that something that evolved during the research and interviews as well?
I did have that idea at the beginning of the book, that it was about courage, that the happiest and most successful people, courage was the difference, that they took risks more often. I don't think I had, until the research, all the facets that went into why do they take risks more often? What are they doing to support themselves taking risks more often? I knew that I felt that in myself, and that was what I was attracted to in other entrepreneurs, that we could just easily take a risk without always second guessing that, or just jump over the ledge of fears and know that we'll grow wings or a parachute on the way down. But really identifying the patterns that all those people had in common, of what their day, what their morning routine looks like, the consistency of their routine, their circle and who they're surrounding themselves with, what they're reading, that all those things feed into really guarding and growing your mindset so that you can practice courage as a habit.
I really appreciate this idea of what we practice and do every day is what we're going to do well and do consistently and confidently. I've got a friend who does, he worked in a volunteer fire department for a while, and I kind of never really appreciated what that meant. And one night we're at a party, and a guy went into someone at the party going into a seizure and fell on the ground, and was having a really not having a great time. And my friend very calmly walked over and dealt with it. And I was like, how did you just do that? I mean, everyone else at this party was just in sheer panic, like, what do we do right now? And he had done this 100 times at being a fireman. That's really cool. So you've got this book out there. It's available wherever you buy books online, along with your podcast that premiered today on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you consume your podcasts out there. Angela, having gone through this experience now, would you write another book?
I would. And I can't believe I'm already
That's the right answer.
It's surprising that I'm already saying that, because as I go into summer, I'm thinking, wow, it's nice weather in summer. And I'm like, what happened to last summer? I was on lockdown writing. So still fresh off the journey, but now, I don't know when that'll be, but I do believe that I'll write another book. I feel like I grew so much in that process and learned so much about that yeah, I can't wait to do it again at some point.
I really love the fact that what you learned most about your own journey through this, or about yourself through this journey, was this concept of taking feedback. Like, why is it so hard for people to take feedback, you think?
It is hard. Our egos, we think that we at this state are good. We think we're good. We think what we put out there is the best. That we tried to do a good job. We think we put our best work out there and it is the best work. So to have it, you really do have to be open to not just the, hey, can we try this a little bit different or a little bit better? It is peeling it down and lots of continual feedback over and over, and willing to see how different people see it. That was another thing. So, you work with multiple editors and you're getting feedback from beta readers, and it's not always the same feedback. So I think a lot of times we are also used to always getting positive. We're a culture of a lot of positive reinforcement. And we're going to put our book out there and ask our friend to read it. And we just expect they're going to be like, that was the best thing I've ever read. And so a lot of the beta readers, that's what happened. That was great. Instead of, you're like, no, I really want to know how it can be better.
So for those who might not know, there are alpha readers, which are the author, the editors, the author coaches. That's your alpha readers. Beta readers are, once it gets to a certain level of polish, if you will, are friends in your network, community, colleagues, what have you, that will also give this is part of the process. You give the book to them and they give you feedback. And I'll never forget hearing one bit of feedback for my book that really got my attention. And I talk about emotional intelligence in one part of my book. And there was I had listed several aspects of it. And one piece, I didn't tell a story that attached to somebody. And I just kind of listed it as a sort of dictionary or a Wikipedia style answer. And the feedback on it was consistently, I don't like this one, get rid of it. I don't get this one. And the reason what I finally found after I dug into it, the beta readers, was they wanted the story. They wanted to feel it. They wanted to see what was going on there, not just read a definition of it. And that was really fun, kind of an interesting feedback moment for me. I have another one that really stung, but what was your favorite feedback moment from the book?
Well, the show, when you say that, it was learning the storytelling parts of it that we too often to learn to show and not tell. I think we want to just tell people our lesson and our knowledge instead of really show it through a story and being vulnerable. I would say my favorite feedback, again, you get attached to feedback. So somebody tells you it's good, and then you're really attached to, so that was my favorite, being challenged in the second round when editor one was just like, that was really great. And then second round of editors challenged me on it. And I was like, no, somebody already said it was good.
No, the other person was
I
right.
eventually came to learning, and they're like, yeah, it was good, but now you've grown and now it's time to go to a different level. So I think that happens in life and stuff too, right? We get to one level and then we're used to being praised at that level, and we're called to take it to another level. And that takes a whole different level of ourselves and a whole different level of learning and feedback. And now at this level, that's not good enough.
Right. It's like playing sports in high school, then college, then the pros. The list just keeps getting shorter and shorter. And I remember too, when you go through the process, there's warm editors and cold editors. Warm editor is the one you talk to all the time, the weekly contact you have with those folks. And then the cold editor, which was at a big inflection point when you're getting your book ready for publishing, they read it cold and they don't know you. They don't know anything about your story. And that's very much by design. And I'll never forget getting that person's feedback and thinking, my first response was, this guy's an idiot. He doesn't know anything. And after I read his feedback 2 or 3 more times, I realized, oh yeah, I did do something odd there that I needed to fix. That was a big moment for me to have that breakthrough. It was kind of funny.
It did take, as you say that, I mean, every time, the first time you read it, you're like, no.
Unless they told me I was right, they're totally wrong.
They're totally wrong.
Let's do this. We've got a couple of fun comments in here. Some pretty excited fans out there for you. Terry L, congratulations, Angela. Very nice. Yogesh K. Sony. Congratulations on the launch. Hell of a courageous journey. Well done, Yogesh. Carrie Weiler, is that? My font's getting really small all of a sudden. Thanks for those comments. Please, if you have questions for Angela, please drop them in the chat or other comments. Jump in here. And if you want to let us know where you're calling in from, that would be great. As I said earlier, this organization has now published authors on 6 of 7 continents. So if you have a friend in Antarctica, please let us know. That's the last one to check off the list. So, Angela, you ready to dive into the rapid fire questions? This is the fun part where we get to know everything that's important about you. Right? I like to start with a very important one, which really sets the stage, I think, for everything, which is, what is your favorite sandwich?
Reuben.
Oh, so good. So good. With mustard, is it?
Thousand Island.
Oh, how could I forget?
Dressing that goes on it.
Yeah. Favorite color? I think I know the answer to this one.
Black. Some people think it's not a color, but it's definitely my favorite.
It's the absence of color. Is that a color? Favorite or most memorable vacation spot?
I love a hard time picking between the beach and the mountains, but anything by water.
Nice. I'm with you on that one. Here's one I think you talk about in the full length episode podcast that's on the creator community. What is the scariest animal for you?
Well, I think on that I said snakes. I've always been scared of snakes, and my dad made me pick them up all the time as a little girl to try and conquer that fear. So I'm still going to go with snakes.
Love it. Given that I continue to be sick for the month of May, what is your best cure for a cold?
Chicken soup is my first off the top of my head answer. It was between that and whiskey, though.
Maybe put the whiskey in the chicken soup. Is that a thing? I don't know. Favorite movie?
Top Gun.
Oh, and there's a new one coming out, I think, pretty soon.
That's what makes me think of it. I have lots of different favorite movies. But
recency bias. Favorite smell, Angela? What's that one for you?
The smell of the Black Hills.
Everything black for you. Everything black.
Black Hills smells like pine trees, but specifically that area.
Is that the Dakotas? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
I love that. An underrated part of the country. I grew up in the Midwest and drove through there many times. Last photo on your phone. He's got to check now. You have to check mine too, just in case.
I'm like, is this embarrassing? It is logo we're designing for a client.
A logo? Nice.
Yeah.
I'm looking at mine now.
I was like, I'm pretty sure it's probably a social post. Previewing a social post. That's what most of my last photos are. If it's an actual last picture I took, I'd have to dig for a while.
Nice. I played golf for the first time in a long time, just a couple of days ago with an old friend, and actually beat him. So I took a picture of the scorecard to send to many people. So that was my last one. That was fun. What did I leave off here? Favorite song to sing with or without an audience? Your dealer's choice here.
I cannot think of a song that and I love music. I owned a dance studio and I love to dance. If it would be favorite song to dance to, I cannot think of a song that I would sing except Happy Birthday. So that's what you're going to get.
Is today your birthday? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, it's not my birthday today, but
that's really funny.
It is good. It is fun to sing Happy Birthday to people.
Excuse me. What is one thing, Angela, you really need to throw out in 2022?
I throw out a lot. I am not like most people that I am a big throw out person.
Constant state of spring cleaning.
I am a constant state of, I don't need that. But I'm sure there's some black clothes that I need to shed.
Your 74th black shirt could probably go. What is your most audacious goal for 2022?
One that I'm really passionate about is sharing this book and getting it out to people. So I have a goal of 100 stages of some sort, 100 different audiences, whether it be groups, podcasts, lives, or actual big stages of getting in front of and sharing the message of the courageous mind with people.
If you want to be more courageous and learn how to loan and own your courage, get Angela on your stage here. She's ready to get after it in 2022. You got to sign in your pre-sale. You sold a whole bunch of books. You got to sign them and send them out to your early pre-sale buyers, which is amazing. Have you ever asked anyone for their autograph?
I have. Okay, an author. It's been a while since I've been in a setting to ask someone for an autograph, but one of my favorite books is The Culture Code, and I got to meet Daniel and he signed my book.
Daniel
Coyle, I think that's his name.
Awesome. That's fun. And has anyone asked you for your autograph yet with the book, other than signing the original copies?
Has anyone asked me for my autograph? I don't know. I don't think so.
I have a hunch it's coming in one of these 100 stages.
It's coming soon.
I'm going to put it out there.
Okay.
So, right, praise quotes are the quotes on the back of somebody's book, right? For those who may not know, Angela, what's your favorite praise quote from your book?
My favorite one is from Maddie Carson, and I don't have it in front of me, but it's one of the ones that is on the back of my book and on Amazon. And it's just, all of the ones were great, and I'm very humbled by all of them, but it's just really praising my vulnerability and authenticity, I think, and voice in it. And so I just love her words.
That is awesome. And I love that you keep bringing up this idea of vulnerability. Writing a book is a very vulnerable journey, but when we get vulnerable, it breeds vulnerability in others, and it helps us, I think, learn and grow, which is just such a cool part of the story, and certainly a big part of your story here. Most unique moment in your writing journey, would you say, or most memorable?
Most memorable is, I would say, just because it's recent, there was lots of different ones, but it being live on Amazon, like being able to type into Amazon my name and
finding your book, right?
So it's still a thrill. It's new, and it's still every day when, you check the rankings and you see how many reviews you were getting and things like that, that and the first people reading your book. I know this sounds strange, but there's a separation between like writing and then people reading your book. And you're so invested in the writing process and just, I think, our society, like reaching the goal, right? So there's such a long process of just like checking the things off the list, this program holding you accountable, doing the next thing, and getting the book out into the world that, hey, here is my published book. I did it. And then I don't know how I so detached myself from that people were going to read it. And so, I mean, it's been wonderful feedback. And like I said, very humbled, but all of the comments about people reading it, I'm like, oh my gosh, you actually read the book.
I love that. I think part of that, at least for me, on this whole sort of forgetting people are going to read it someday, is it's such an immersive experience. And once you get into it and really find out what you're writing about, what this process helps you do, it's almost like you can't wait to get back to your desk, right? Or wherever your favorite writing spot is, to do it again, which was such a really, sitting at this chair for me at 1 o'clock in the morning became a pretty common occurrence after typing for hours, because it was just like, once you figure it out and build the contents and build the stories and get the narrative there, it really, for me, became quite addictive. Best part about being an author so far, would you say, aside from seeing your name on Amazon?
Besides, seeing my name on Amazon and seeing my name on the book, is sharing my story and people already being, sharing back with me how they're touched by the teachings or how it's inspired them. To go after not only the words and the things in the book, but as you said, vulnerability inspires vulnerability, and going after a lifelong dream and accomplishing that, and people seeing that journey process. That's been my favorite part too. When you go after a big goal and reach it, it inspires others to do the same.
So cool. And you did it really within a year. One of the things I often hear is, oh, I need more time to write my book. And when I wrote my book, I had so many people send me notes, like, basically, how did you get this done? I've been writing a book for 7 years. And some of those people even call themselves authors. I'm like, oh, where can I get your book? Oh, it's on my computer. I'm like, well, that's not really a book, is it? It's not published, but right, you can take as long as you want to write a book. But what I think I love about this journey is it's structured, it's accountability, as you said, and it creates a very clear roadmap to get there in 12 to 18 months to go from, I sort of have this idea, to publish a book in your hands, which is really cool. What would you say to those considering writing a book, Angela?
You should absolutely do it. I tell everyone that. I'm like, go through this program. Everyone has a book and a story inside them, and you might not know what it is, but the first part of the process is discovering that. You're writing, it's kind of more like journaling in the beginning, and the program helps you figure out what book it is inside you. But regardless of what you want to do with it afterwards, if your goal isn't the published author and spreading it out in the world, you still have a book inside you. And I think the whole process is therapeutic and really rewarding.
That's awesome. And it'll get you there, right? And you don't have to have a finished product. And I really appreciate that you said earlier that we think, we're going to write this book and it's this big output thing. And really, at the end of the day, it's so much input to learn and grow and interview people and research. And as you interview people, that was my favorite part of it. Like it would change your thinking, confirm your thinking, or challenge your thinking. And so many times help me just refine the whole thing. Last question here for Angela Schroeder, new book out on Amazon, wherever you buy books online, and her new podcast out, The Creator Community, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you consume podcasts. Of course, YouTube has video. Describe your writing journey in 5 words, Angela. Doesn't have to be a sentence.
Achieving a lifelong dream.
Wow. That was impressive. I had to count them.
I'm like, please say that was 5.
I had to count them. That is amazing. I'm so happy for you and so pleased that you were able to join us today and come out and share your story, and that I got to interview you for the podcast. If you want to hear a much deeper dive into Angela's stories, check out The Creator Community and subscribe to the channel, please. And start to follow the channel as well as New Degree Press on LinkedIn, Facebook, and keep updated on when the next episode will be coming up. We've got several coming up in the next few weeks. But Angela, great to see you. If you could stick around for one more minute after we hang up here. But thank you, everyone, for listening in. And if you want to write your book, check out the creator.institute today and join our next cohort, which is going to start just after Memorial Day in a couple of weeks here, and get your book in the next 12 to 18 months. Angela, great to see you. Congratulations. Go out and get The Courageous Mind today. Thanks for joining us, Angela.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks to all our listeners out there. As I said, go and check out the YouTube channel, subscribe, and join us next week when we have our next episode of Meet the Author. Have a great day.